2, 1.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to MetalCon Live. I'm Judy Geller, Director of MetalCon, and I'm here with my co-pilot, Kaylin Burke at the controls, and we're glad you could join us today. Today on MetalCon Live, we will be having an important discussion on a topic that profoundly impacts our bottom lines as well as our industry. But before we start, I'd like to share that on December 2nd, right here on MetalCon Live, we'll be launching the MetalCon Business Academy with a 6-session series presented in partnership with the Trades Business Experts Breakthrough Academy. So if you've been too busy to plan the next big moves for your business, head over to MetalCon Live and check out this free series of courses under the MetalCon Live tab. And while you're there, take a minute to note that our next program, Bring Your MCM to Life with a Quality MCM Fabricator, presented by the Metal Construction Association, is going to take place on November 18th. And today's program is sponsored by Roofers Coffee Shop. It's where the industry meets for all things roofing, where business gets done through classified ads in the industry directory, and where learning happens in the Read, Listen, Watch educational library, and through a full breadth of multimedia opportunities. Remember also, if you will, that if you run into a technical issue, please message MetalCon support in the Zoom chat. And if you have any questions for the panel, send those via chat as well. And now, without any further delays, I'm going to turn you over to get our discussion started to Roofers Coffee Shop's own Heidi Ellsworth. Hey, Heidi.
Hey, Judy. Thank you so much for having us here today. This is pretty exciting.
Glad to have you.
Well, I am honored to be moderating this panel today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate MetalCon and what they're doing with MetalCon Live to bring these type of topics out to the industry. And my name is Heidi Ellsworth. I'm the owner of Roofers Coffee Shop, and I'm also the founder of National Women in Roofing. These are two organizations that I hold close to my heart because they are paving the way into new ways of thinking, more progressive ways with digital resources, and also more diversity, bringing women into all industries, all construction industries. So what I'd like to do to get us started out is I've introduced myself, and I would like to have our wonderful panel. I'm going to let each one of them introduce themselves, their companies, the organizations that they're involved in, and really kind of talk just a tad about why diversity is so important. So we're going to start out with Sonia. Welcome, Sonia.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm Sonia Malvik. I work for Olympic Steel. Olympic Steel is a flat roll distributor supplying metal products throughout the country. And I have been part of AWMI, the Association of Women in the Metals Industry, for over 25 years. And I currently serve as the international president for the organization. I think that, as we talk about diversity and the importance of it, it's the same for me as far as a company and the association that we're a part of. Diversity brings a different perspective. It gives us exposure to different types of people and opens up the opportunity to access a greater talent pool. As workforce demographics change, it's more important than ever that companies show a commitment to embracing change and fostering mutual respect in a non-judgmental environment. And AWMI has been doing this all along. We give our members and leaders an opportunity to serve on our boards. We have chapter boards, regional boards, and international boards. And you may be a member of the association and not currently in a leadership position, and you are welcome to join one of our boards. And it really gives the person an opportunity to understand what it means to run a business and do it in a non-judgmental environment. So it's something that we're pretty passionate about.
That is so important. It just this opportunity for growth that we don't always get. And so, Tiff, introduce yourself and kind of add on to that.
Sure. My name is Tiff Hutchison. I work for Brightsmith Coaters in Morrisville, PA. We are a sister company of ATAS International, which is a name that you might know, the manufacturer of metal roofing products in Allentown, PA. And diversity is important to my organization because being an innovator in our market is one of our core values. It's very important to us. And having an inclusive workplace leads to two times more likely to be innovators in our market segment. Aside from having an inclusive workplace being morally imperative, I think it's important to have a big pool of candidates to draw from of diverse backgrounds and perspectives and skills.
Yes, definitely. And for our final introduction, I love that, Tiff, the diverse thought. That I think we're going to be talking a lot more about that. Minnie, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Minnie with ATAS International from Allentown, Pennsylvania. I am out of the Mesa facility. I am a product representative for Arizona and Southern Nevada. I am involved with the Arizona Roofing Contractors Association, as well as National Women in Roofing, both the Arizona and pretty soon the newly formed Las Vegas chapter. So I think when it comes to diversity, a lot of different backgrounds have a way of sharing new ideas. So the more that you have the diversity, the different ideas that all come together to form one big idea. So I think having that inclusivity and the people all come together, it would definitely be something that would help any business
To put together. So I want to let everybody know out there, we aren't just talking about this today. This is actually happening in a person's everyday life, and that is Minnie. She is on the road, found out that she had to be at a job walk, and got up early, got there. She's right by the Grand Canyon, and she is finding the best Wi-Fi she can find. So if Minnie goes in and out, it's okay. We can still hear you. So don't worry, just keep sharing your wisdom. So you are really showing what women can do right now. So, one of the things that we hear a lot of times is people get a little bit sideways with the term diversity. They just are like, why do we need this? We're diverse. We don't know what's going, and really defining that success. What is the ROI of diversity for for a company? So a lot of times we kind of need to bring it back down to those brass tacks. So Tiff, I know that your company and ATAS, have done so much on this. Can you talk a little bit about how companies can define success with the diversity program, especially bringing women in?
Yeah, I think success and diversity are going hand in hand, and that there are many different ways to define that success, but it looks like increased productivity. It looks like employee confidence and engagement. It has a positive impact on morale and better retention. And everyone's heard already, we know this, we've heard this over and over, it costs a lot less to keep a customer or employee than to train a new one or get a new customer. So we want to keep those employees happy. And it often comes with faster problem solving. People with different backgrounds are able to bring different pieces to the equation and solve problems faster. It's increased language and cultural awareness, which is huge. And in the market we're all facing now, the world is becoming a little bit smaller. Everyone needs to be a little bit aware of the global impact and growth there. Here at ATAS and Brightsmith, one of the things that I really care about is the community involvement that we have. It's one of my most proud factors of the ATAS family. And it's something I think it's worth noting in this group as well. If you're looking to increase the awareness in your community or reach out to different pockets, I think getting involved in the community is a great way to do that. To get a recognizable name in the community. And one thing we did recently, which was cool, is a construction camp for girls. And it's empowering these young women who may not have ever looked at an industry like construction before, and maybe it's opening their eyes to something new. So I think that's also a measure of success. Is, you know, not accountable maybe on the books, but it is growing this future and potential of employee development that you could have. Maybe these girls will look at you again in the future.
Seeing others who look like you or who are in leadership positions is so important with that. I know it's incredible. Sonia, you had some thoughts on this too.
Well, you know, I think that the new generation of today is looking for something a little bit different than maybe years ago when I first entered the job market, right? It was more about job security. Today, we go into more the partnership, people wanting to align themselves with a company or an association that really aligns with their beliefs and their values. So the company that I work for, Olympic Steel, I'm an outside sales rep for the company. I would have a really hard time representing my company if the core values of my company did not align with mine. Just to give you an example, you know, on the back of our business card, we have our mission statement and we have what our core values are. And integrity, teamwork, like Tiff said, corporate citizenship, respect. Those are the core values of Olympic. AWMI, we have grow, network, educate, mentor. You know, I need to know that the association that I am partnering with and working for aligns with those same values that I have. And I think that helps not only in the recruitment of people into your organization, but the retention of people. So I think that's really key.
Yeah, I
Sonia,
think. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Tiff. Yeah.
I think you're right, Sonia. And a lot of consumers are becoming more and more aware of this now. I mean, you see it in Hollywood now when people want to act, they won't act unless the female leads get paid the same as they do. And I think consumers are starting to ask these questions. You know, how many women are at the top of your management team, or what percentage, you know, whatever make up your workforce. I think you're right. Consumers are getting smart and want to know about this stuff.
Absolutely.
So true. And Tiff, Minnie, before we get to you, Tiff just reminded me, because sometimes I forget these little details, but we have a poll. And so you just said it, and it's perfect. So Kaylin and Judy, I think you're going to bring the poll up, and it's going to be, is 25% of your upper level management team comprised of women? So we would like to hear from everybody out there in the audience if 25% of your upper level management team is comprised of women. Okay, we're going to let that run for a few minutes, and then that Kaylin will bring that up. But while we're waiting, oh, there it is. Oh, look at that opportunity, ladies.
Opportunity.
We have a lot of opportunity out there. Great. Well, I'm glad you're on today listening, because the women who are coming up, there's women who have broken a lot of ground in construction. And then there are a lot of young women who are coming up and really have those expectations. So Minnie, talk about that just a little bit about, you know, that ROI, that defining success, but then also kind of take it on to that next step of recruitment. What does a company need to do to recruit the next generation of women coming up?
So in the last National Women in Roofing webinar that we had, we discussed how most women will not apply for a job unless they meet 100% of the criteria, whereas men typically will, if they meet 60% of that criteria, they'll apply for the job. So I think a lot of it is a misconception that you have to be perfect in order to be to take a position. And I think it's all about growth. It's all about being able to grow yourself and having a company that allows you to grow with them. Being able to put your own footprint down and grow as you go, not only with the job, but with your team. And I think that's very, very important. When we talk about recruitment, there's a lot of things that we can do to recruit in our industry. We want to talk about teaching parents how important it is for them to acknowledge that the construction industry is not a bad job to be in. It's not something that we want to shun, or something. If your child wants to go into a trade school, allowing your child to go into a trade school. I think that's extremely, extremely important. Being able to associate yourself with trade schools, possible organizations that only help women, or organizations that help educate women. I think that a lot of times is extremely important in order to recruit into your company, and being able to allow people to grow within your organization, not only in your job, but not only professionally, but personally as well. I think that's extremely important.
Tiff, I know your sister companies, you both work for the in the same, you and Mini. So recruitment wise, to start bringing more women in, you're already doing it. What are some of the things that you're doing?
This is kind of cool. Sonia and Minnie and I are all in women-focused trade associations, and that is a major source. So targeting the source where diverse candidates congregate, like National Women in Roofing, or Women in Manufacturing, or Association for Women in the Metals Industries, or Society for Women Engineers, they're out there. I think supporting your people that you have working for you already, so supporting Minnie and Sonia going to these events, and they are advertising for you, and they're living and breathing the support that you're giving them financially, and the time that you're giving for them to be there. That shows when they're there. And there are women that are looking for work that attend these sessions and seminars and conferences. And if the Minis and the Sonians are able to talk about how well Olympic and ATAS support their women, then that'll gain the interest of other women who are looking for that. So I'm a big fan of the trade association sources.
You know, it's funny. The other day I was talking to a young lady who just joined the roofing industry, and she told me, she says, you know, I used to sneak into National Women in Roofing meetings so that I could meet all the women in roofing. I'm like, you didn't have to sneak in, it's open. She's like, well, I felt like I did. So I think that is such an awesome comment on recruitment and retention. And Sonia, you're seeing that a lot, right? With all of your ladies.
Absolutely. And, you know, we've made a lot of changes and add-ons to the things that we're offering. You know, going back to Minnie's comment about women not always stepping up, thinking that maybe they don't have, you know, the right criteria. AWMI, with the programs that we're offering now, we have a mentoring program that started this past year where we actually will align a member with another member for some one-on-one mentoring for whatever skill set that they're seeking. Going back to joining a board, you know, maybe in your company today, you're not in a position of leadership and you want to be considered for that next leadership role. You know, I feel like as women, we're willing to do the work, right? And so we're joining the associations and we're stepping up and volunteering into the boards. And now we've got an idea of how do businesses run? If I make a decision here, how is it going to affect this department over here? So now as we consider stepping up and being considered for a leadership role, and you're maybe, like I said, your current career doesn't allow for that. Now you're able to say, hey, I've served on a board of directors for the last 3 years. This is the capacity that I was in. I've been able to experience not only hands-on leadership, but leadership training. I'm part of a mentoring program, and your whole skill set has just jumped up, better preparing you for that new opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's so important, because there are a lot of women who don't think they can take on that role, but once they've done it, they know. I see it a lot too from on a retention level when you're talking about companies that are really supporting their women to try to get them more involved. We see that through National Women in Roofing, where, for example, Shelly Higgins, who works for ATAS, just started a National Women in Roofing Council in Pittsburgh. And no fear, no thought. She she's just blowing it up. She's doing such a great job. And so all of a sudden it's being able to not only serve on those boards and be in leadership roles, but also starting councils, bringing more women together, being retention. So Minnie, maybe talk a little bit about that too, on retention, like how important it is for women to see other women in leadership roles and have a career path and opportunities.
Oh, absolutely. So just before I get to that, Mary asked a question about if we recruit during middle school or high school. I think ATAS does have an event during Manufacturing Day where we open the doors to our manufacturing facilities for middle school and high school age kids to come in and see the manufacturing process and everything that's done during our manufacturing process, what jobs are available. And I think that's very, very important. You have to start in the construction industry, you have to start showing it as a viable option for education, beginning with middle school, because most kids decide what they want to be in middle school and high school. So I think that's extremely, extremely important to start in middle school and high school as well. As far as retention, Heidi, I think the biggest thing is helping your women grow. I think the more that you allow them to put their footprint down, to expand their wings, and to show people what our industry has to offer for them, I think that's going to be a very, very big role that is played in retention. The more that you help them grow and learn, the more that they're going to be loyal, a loyal employee, and the more that they're going to want to do what's best for your company. And I think that's extremely, extremely important, is showing the support and allowing them to grow not only personally, but also professionally. Give them a shot at that promotion. Give them a shot at being able to mentor other people. I think that is very, very, very important.
Yeah, I agree so much. And Tiff, I know all of you are seeing some of the chats over here, but I would love, as we're talking about retention, I'd love to kind of comment to Peggy's comment. Peggy, thank you. She said, women need to know that old school manufacturing industries are not rife with harassment issues as they might have been in the past. Having more women in these industries ensures that those things are not acceptable anymore. I love that. That is an awesome, thank you for putting that in, Peggy. And we also, Mary was in there with the middle school and high school, which Minnie already talked to. So thank you. So Tiff, what are you seeing on that? I mean, you guys do so much manufacturing and it has changed with more women, more diversity.
Yeah, so as far as retention is concerned,
as with retention.
So I echo 100% exactly what Minnie said. That's one of my favorite things, and one of the things that I think we do well as a management team is always looking for the opportunities to send our folks, men and women, to enhance their technical knowledge as well as their professional development. So if you're a manager and you're listening, or you have a group underneath you, man or woman beneath you, I love just we got all these free webinar Zoom invites now during the time of COVID, just like this one. Forward it to the people who you think would benefit from. It's on them to take it up or not, and support them when they're going to a conference, whether it's time or financially. I think that's important. The other thing I think that's maybe changing, at least in our organization, I think, is the encouragement of employees to have an open and honest dialogue with the policymakers and management to keep their individual biases in check. I think coming from a workplace that may not be inclusive may start to have some biases that need to be checked, which inhibit a diverse organization from growing. So I think open door communication with employees and making sure they feel comfortable is imperative today.
Yeah, it is so true. And Sonia, what are you seeing on that with the retention? I mean, especially in this time of COVID, where women have so much more put on them. What are you kind of seeing out there?
Well, I want to jump on first to a little bit of what Tiff was saying regarding the support from companies. that is just key right now. And Olympic has been awesome in the sense that they are a corporate sponsor of AWMI and obviously have supported me throughout AWMI and any employees that want to, attend events. The thing that's happening, I think that's really helping companies today, and certainly remind everybody out there that's listening, associations like AWMI are doing a lot of work to provide value and to provide training for individuals that companies themselves are finding some time constraints in doing, right? So like I mentioned, the mentoring program. Let's say you have somebody new to your team and you just don't have a lot of time for one-on-one training to the extent that you would like to. Now you allow them to be a member of our association and you tie them up with somebody that does a similar role that can take some one-on-one time to really give them the training that they need. So it's an investment from the company showing the support of allowing the membership. But again, what is that payback there? One of the things that we did this past year at AWMI was partner with an economist that has a finger on the pulse at all times of what's going on. And boy, is a lot going on in our economy this year, right? And so we have partnered with him and we get publications every week up to the minute of what is going on throughout the country economic wise. And so again, it's another opportunity that our members can share with the rest of the group. So yeah, I think companies or employees really want to know that the companies and associations that they are a part of support their efforts and support groups like the ones we're all a part of. The networking is, unparalleled. There is always somebody there that you can reach out to for a question. Certainly, like we talked about, we can find jobs throughout the networks that we have. We can find new employees with the networks that we build. So, obviously extremely important.
I agree. The support of the company in that professional growth through these associations and just within the company itself, strong mentoring within the company itself is so critical. And so I want to talk a little bit about that culture that we kind of have identified that along the lines. And I want to bring in a couple of questions that just came up. So we had one from Andrew. It says, do we care about people who don't identify as men or women? I think we should. And guess what? So do I. So I think everybody on here is going to feel that same way. Just so you know, National Women in Roofing just started a brand new committee called Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And it's for everyone. It doesn't matter, men, women, however you identify, it is for everyone. And that is part of that inclusion and part of that retention and culture that we really are seeing start to come forward. But I do, and I kind of want to take this back to Sonia because, and sorry, I know, ladies, I'm getting a little bit off here, but these are great questions over here. Amy said, any tips for women who want to participate in affinity groups or women-focused associations, but experience resistance from their manager or company? I know I have some thoughts on that. I'd love to, why don't you kick us off?
That's been a big challenge this year, quite frankly, especially with even our current leadership and members that we have. Everyone is obviously very cognizant of the financial implications of what COVID has done to our economy this year. And it's been a real challenge for me as a leader this year to try to push to say, hey, I need you to go back and at least share with your company what we're doing as an association. I can't expect my company to want to continue to be a corporate sponsor of AWMI if we've basically gone dark for a whole year. So I think it's really important to be able to share what the organization is doing. What is the value that they are providing? So we've had some webinars come up I've encouraged everyone to say, hey, I I want to bring this to your attention, to their boss. This is what AWMI is offering. This is the expense of it. I'd like to be able to be sponsored for it. But at the same time, I want you to understand the work that AWMI is doing. And these are things that are being offered. So I think you have to do a little bit of due diligence to be able to really understand, what is the association doing? How is the association not only going to benefit you, but benefit you as the employee of the company? And let the company then decide what kind of bang for the buck are they getting, right? How, by supporting you with getting into this group, what are they going to see? Not only your own personal growth, but what are they going to see back from you on the financial side by you becoming more diverse and growing in your skill set?
Yeah. Tiff, I know ATAS and is a sponsors a lot of things. Sponsors National Women in Roofing, AWMI, the Let's Build Girl, so and you have so many people, women involved. What do you say to other, and hopefully this doesn't put you on the spot, but what do you say to other companies who maybe are not other managers who are not supporting women being involved? What are they losing by not supporting their women in these associations?
So Sonia mentioned in the very beginning about boards, being on a board, and it's an opportunity to grow a woman's skill set for free, basically on a board. So for example, it's encouraged in AWMI, I'm sure National Women Roofing and SWE and WIM, that if you want to know more about finances and how a company's finances work, run to be the treasurer, and you have a judgment-free, safe place to fail and get picked up and supported by everyone else. And you can fail there and learn how to do it the right way and bring it back and do it the right way for your company. So it's kind of a practice area to mess up and be okay, or succeed and bring that success and experience back to your company. I think it also speaks volumes right now that Minnie and I are on the same team and we're both here on this call today. I think that's pretty cool. Our networks have grown tremendously through these organizations. So that's just the experience that you get offline that's not on the company's time. And the fact that we're getting all this huge network are two huge reasons why you should be supporting people in the associations.
Yeah, I think it's amazing in that the network that I have found in the last 6 years through National Women in Roofing has been the best thing ever that has ever happened in my career. And I probably talked to 3 or 4 women a week who are saying, how do I get into roofing? What do I do? How do I get involved in the associations? How can I do it? So before I turn this over to Minnie, because I want Minnie to take this kind of to that next level, I do want to say that if your managers are not supporting you, reach out to the women who are involved in that association. There are ways to get scholarship for membership. There are ways to do it, to get involved in that doesn't cost anything. You are not going to be turned away. Let me just say that. And so there is so much you can do in your own time for your own professional growth that if you are not getting that kind of support, that's a big part of retention and recruitment right there. You do need to have that support. And so Minnie, that's what I wanted to kind of go on to. That next thing is this next generation. I know our generation, my generation, I expect this now. I'm very much, but I watch this next generation coming up and they're like, you're not supporting me? I'll go look over there. So what are you seeing just out there in the workplace as you're in sales, you're talking to a lot of different contractors and different folks. What are you seeing on the expectations for the industry and this next generation to be involved in construction?
I think a lot of the issues that we have being the younger generation is the being afraid of saying, I don't know. And I think what happens is instead of your younger generation or your women, instead of saying, oh my God, I can't believe you don't know, sit them down and mentor them. And I think that's the most important and key part of it. Allow them to be in associations like the Young Professionals for the Arizona Roofing Contractors Association. Why? Because everybody who's a young professional comes together and helps grow that network. It helps teach each other things that they may have not known before. And I think a lot of that recruitment comes from the younger generation. The younger generation wants to learn. We want to work. We want to make this industry better. And I think there's no bigger testament to the power of our industry than to having powerful women, powerful men who are a younger generation learn the trade and learn to love it as much as the older generation does. I think falling in love with our industry is something that we need to teach our younger generation, teaching them that this is a fantastic industry to be in. You know, a lot of us ended up in this industry by chance, but most of us did stay here by choice because we did fall in love with the industry and we fell in love with everything that it has to offer. And I think as an employer, as a company, you have to teach your employees how to fall in love with the industry, because the more that they fall in love with it, the more that they grow, the more that they learn, and the more that they stay.
I think that is the nugget. For every presentation, someone should go home with a nugget. And I think Minnie just said it. Help your employees fall in love with the industry you're in. That is a great nugget. So before we keep going, because, you know, I'm really bad at these poll questions. I forget about them. So I got to get one in here. Our next poll question is, what are you doing to recruit women into your organization? So there we go. Association membership, job fairs, temporary employment services, word of mouth, recruitment agency, partnering with trade schools. So if everybody could answer that, that will give you, we probably gave away what our thoughts are. We all think association membership, but so well, we'd like to hear what you're doing. And then I do want to kind of bring up some questions over here that I think is really good. And I mentioned earlier that National Women in Roofing has just started their Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Oh, and here we go. Association membership, 48%, job fairs, 29%, temporary employment, 13%, word of mouth, 74%. I see that a lot. Recruitment agency, 39%, and partnering with trade schools, 23%. So pretty much across the board, but word of mouth is, so hopefully today is helping with that word of mouth, getting out there. The National Women in Roofing has started their Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion committee, because we saw that, you know, we have spent so much time bringing women into really trying to recruit women. We want to make sure it's all women. And as we said earlier, all minorities, all race, all everything, because this is an awesome, as Minnie said, this is the coolest, the metal industries, the roofing industries, construction overall, it is the place to be. So Minnie, maybe kind of go through that again, just kind of on that bigger diversity. You know, how the question that came in was, can you also talk about increasing diversity in other demographic metrics, for example, race?
So the funny thing is our industry is always pegged for being a male-dominated industry. That's not really the case. I mean, at this point, we have so many different jobs to offer. We have engineers, we have designers, we have laborers, we have technical people, we have marketing people. Everybody, whether it's race, gender identification, man, woman, I can't say child because child labor laws, right? But when you think about that, everybody has something to offer. Everybody has something to bring into this industry. And I think being able to be inclusive, not using he or she pronouns. I think that's the biggest thing, is when you put in a job title or a job offer or a job description, don't use pronouns. Don't use he or she. Use they. Use they. I think that's one of the things that's extremely important in order to create diversity in our industry. We want to have different backgrounds, different thought processes, different ideas, because that's what makes us grow as companies. That's what makes us as an industry.
Yeah. And Sonia, can you kind of tie that in also? I think you can see that other question in there, which I think is really a good question. It's from Marshall, and it says, are you seeing any particular trends in types of work, roles, and leadership areas that might be of preference or desired more? I think this is where we're tipping the scales, right? That now we can do anything. So maybe talk about that. Is there still a bias to overcome? And if so, anything in particular? I know in roofing, it's like women, a lot of people have a problem with women being on the roof. Well, they do an amazing job, and so do everybody else. So what are you seeing with that, with kind of getting out of the pigeonholes?
I don't know. I think times have definitely changed, and going back to some of Minnie's comments about diversity and inclusion. Association of Women got started years ago because there was so few women in the industry, and there was a group of women out in California that decided, we got to find a way to come together and support each other and promote each other. And I think all that was ever wanted was that women wanted to be looked at the same as men in similar roles, right? Why is there a stereotype for that? So, at the end of the day, I'm 100% on board with Minnie. We all want to be looked at for the skill sets that we have, and not by gender, race, anything like that. And what are we as an organization doing to promote success in individuals? So, the challenges that we probably still face as women in our industry are probably those higher leadership roles. My own company, we have women branch managers. We have some women in our corporate team, but it's definitely an area that companies continue to have to work for. And I think we as women have to continue to do, like I mentioned before, the work to set ourselves up for success so that we are considered for those roles. So it makes it that much easier when the company has the desire to do that. Then we put the work in to have the skill set available to be the chosen one for that next role. So
yeah, that is so true. And really looking at your career path and knowing where you want to go, and then just being tenacious on getting there.
right.
I think, Tiff, one of the things that you and I talked about earlier was we're both owners of businesses, and there's a lot of women out there right now, and men, who need support with kids at home. So, you see all these reports coming out right now about the number of women dropping out of the workforce because of kids at home. But I think this is a challenge for parents. It's not, and I realize a lot of times it is put more on women, but I know in our household, it's usually put more on my husband than me. So can you talk a little bit about that change that's coming through with COVID and possibly working remote at home and the need for flexibility?
I think if played right, a company could use it to differentiate in their recruiting strategies. Yes, you and I both are blessed in the fact that we both have supportive stay-at-home husbands at home. So we planned this before COVID, so this is very good timing for us. But I think that getting creative with the language in job postings is something that that could help grow the inclusion workplace that we're all trying to build here. And maybe that includes, as Minnie said, removing pronouns. Maybe it's taking a closer look at the language that you're using. You may unconsciously be leaving out a group of people that would be turned off just by the language that you're using in a job posting. And maybe now during times of COVID, it's including things like flexible work hours or virtual working or stuff like that to think about. But now maybe it's changing policies to look at different time off, maybe including more religious holidays. And I think this could be used as a way to maybe benefit some if played correctly.
Yeah, and it seems we're getting some of that same discussion over here that, and Minnie brought it up, not using pronouns, not really working at more inclusivity of everyone and not just getting past that. So thank you for those comments, and also just the confidence. But Minnie, you have little ones at home. You have two parents with two full-time jobs. How are you, what are some of your advice out there to a lot of parents and families that are dealing with this juggling act?
Coffee, lots of coffee. I think as a parent, we really strive to make our kids successful. And we really strive to do a great job for our employer. And I think the great thing about working for a company who is flexible, who has family first in mind, and I think now with the COVID situation, now with the working remotely, I think family first has become extremely important. And it is difficult to juggle. I'm going to be completely honest with you. It is difficult to juggle because we have kids homeschooling, and then we also have full-time jobs. We have site visits to go to, where I had to borrow the Wi-Fi at a restaurant. So it does definitely put a bit of a hinder in working at your full capacity, but being able to say, okay, maybe I'm not available in the morning, but I can work the whole afternoon and make sure I take care of my emails, take care of my phone calls, take care of everything that I need to take care of. I think that flexibility that Tiffany talked about is extremely, extremely important. In order for us as working moms, as working dads, as working partners, I think that is how you keep people, is making sure that you are family first and that you understand that we're all going through the same struggle. Unfortunately, we don't all have a stay-at-home parent. We don't all have the luxury of being able to just work 100% remotely. And I think it is extremely important for us to be flexible, for our industry to be flexible at times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Sonia, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that. Obviously this year has been challenging for everyone. And I think some positive takeaways have been that, we all have a better understanding of how this Zoom platform works, right? And how we can use this to our advantage. Manny talked about the time constraints, and I can give you an example of our AWMI Chicago chapter board. These folks are dispersed throughout all of the Chicagoland area and even into Indiana. And to try to get face-to-face meetings together with their boards was extremely challenging and time consuming. Many folks drove an hour and a half one way to have a face-to-face meeting. Look at us now. We're having a discussion together from being all over the different parts of the country, and I think that companies are understanding too that, just like Minnie said, there's going to be times where you're going to be tied up a little bit in the morning and you're going to have a little bit of extra time at night. And knowing that your company understands that and knows and values what you're bringing to the table for the company, maybe it allows us as women to be a little more confident in knowing, hey, I know I'm getting my job done. I'm finding different ways to do it and still be successful with different platforms and maybe different flexible time schedules. And at the end, not only is that going to help on the retention side, but it certainly should help on the recruitment side too, to be able to advertise that that's an option that companies are willing to work with.
I think that's so smart. That is it. And that's the change. Okay, there's your second nugget. That's the changing of the times and making sure that we are progressing forward. So we need to have another poll question here real quick. And so what we want to say is, do you offer programs for the next generation to experience construction? Hopefully, Caitlin, is that the right one? Yes. Awesome. Okay, so just let us know yes or no, and then I'm gonna go ahead and go into our second poll question too after you do this, Caitlin. I do want to answer a question while we're waiting for, oh, I think it came up. Yes, no. So just real quick before we go on, this is so important. So Tiff, can you just comment on this? You saw that there's a lot more no's than yeses on providing education for the next generation in construction. I know you do this tons on all different levels. So why is that so important, and how can they get involved?
So it is so important for maybe the selfish reason of an owner of a company for potential recruitment, getting our name out there, and whether it's hosting the construction camp for girls or hosting as a tour spot for manufacturing day, opening our doors and showing people how cool manufacturing really is. I will say though, so we have our second location, the one I'm at right now is about an hour south of our Allentown plant. And we have tried to get involved in various things around here, and there's just no opportunity around here for it. So maybe some of it is luck that the opportunities are there around our ATAS plant. But I do encourage everyone to look for those opportunities. Call the local trade school, call the day camps for high school kids. Maybe start your own thing, open your doors and be a tour spot for the local high school. We have seen nothing but positivity come out of it.
That is so cool. Sonia, well, I'm going to bring up our next question here, which is what challenges, if you can, Caitlin, what challenges do you still see for women in your organization? Pay equity, flexibility, training, and advancement opportunities. But I'd like to, while people are answering that poll, there was a question about resources for recruitment and for looking for women. What kind of types of things are you doing in AWMI to help with companies to recruit? Is it mostly getting involved, or what do you have on that?
We do have a job bank on our AWMI website, so companies can certainly post on our website any jobs that are open and available. So that is something that we offer. Yeah, I mean, that along with just, the networking that we have within the association, kind of the word of mouth.
That's the best way, is to get more women involved, because it brings it about. So let's show so what are some of the challenges? We're seeing number one, advancement opportunities, followed by pay equity, flexibility, and training. So no matter how much we think we've passed a lot of this, it's still a challenge. So let's talk about that going forward. And let's start with you, Minnie. What do you see as the biggest challenges that we have still for women in construction?
So I think one of the ladies at Johns Manville during our unconventional women in roofing chat for National Women in Roofing, one of the Johns Manville ladies put it best. We as women, as minorities, have to be a lot more prepared. We do not have the option of saying, I don't know, let me check with my technical department, because they automatically assume that we don't know. Whereas a man or a person older in the industry, they tend to say, I don't know, let me check with the technical department. They'll be like, oh, they don't know. And so we have to be 10 times more prepared in order to go to a job site. In order to answer technical questions, we have to know the ins and outs of absolutely everything, because we do not have the luxury of looking unprepared. And I think that right now is probably the biggest challenge that I see with our industry, is not being able to say, I don't know. or not being able to say, let me get back to you on that, or let me research that for you. So I think that right now is probably the biggest challenge I'm seeing. The pay equity in the roofing industry is actually becoming very uniform. And I think a lot of times we're starting to see that it's not as bad as it is across the country or across the other industries. I think we're a little bit better off than most of the other industries as far as pay equity. But for sure, definite being prepared, having to be 10 times more prepared than anybody else in the industry is the biggest hurdle.
Everything. I see you nodding, Sonia.
Yeah.
What do you see as the biggest challenge?
I agree with Minnie. You know, I myself feel like I don't want to be the one to say I don't know, right? So how do I prepare for those potential I don't knows? And that is trying to get as much information and as much access to training so that, you know, we don't have to answer those questions. I'll go back to when we talked about this before. You know, it's still a challenge again for us to get into those higher leadership roles. And I think that while we're making great strides and while our companies are certainly proponents of putting women in those positions, it just is going to take a little while. And so, you know, definitely being part of an association so that you have opportunities to be honing in on your skill set so you're prepared when that opportunity comes up is really about the only thing that we can do, and continue to move forward with supporting each other as individuals out there in being part of associations. So
Yes. Tiff, what do you see as the greatest challenge we have going forward?
I think there are just a bunch of assumptions that have to be challenged or overcome, and one of them I think is, a lot of the times I'll be the only female in a meeting full of men, and it's not my nature to speak up or offer my perspective unless I'm 100% correct and I have all the facts and I've studied it for a week. But I think there's an assumption that if someone is quiet, they don't have anything to offer, their perspective is not worth sharing. But my nugget would be advice for the men or women or people who don't identify as either on this webinar, to take the effort and make the space for the quiet person in the corner. Maybe it's just not their nature to speak up, but wow, they could have some great novel idea. And I think that we need to respect any perspective.
I agree. That is so good. And I'm going to leave with what I see as the largest challenge, and that is women speaking up and reaching out. So one of the things that we have battled for many, many years is there can only be one woman on that board. There can only be one woman on the C-level. There can only be whatever it may be. And that's not true. We can reach out hands and help each other, whether you're a woman, a man, or identify as neither. It doesn't matter. As people, we need to help each other to become the best people we can be. And that is our challenge. That is the challenge of accepting all the gifts and talents that are out there. So I really, really want to say to everyone out there, look in the people there, whether they're introverts or extroverts or whatever they may be. You have so much talent right there in that you can help. Because here's the next challenge. If you don't, as a business owner, they're going to go somewhere else because there is lots of opportunity. So I do want to answer one question that we had here, and that was the resources. So Sonia gave you some of those. National Women in Roofing are doing recruiting right now. You can place ads through the National Women in Roofing page, and you can look for all types of people. So also at Roofers Coffee Shop, sorry, shameless plug, we have classified ads looking for people. So there's all kinds of resources out there. So Judy, I think we made it. This has been awesome.
This is really a fantastic discussion. So much to cover. Clearly, we could have used a whole nother hour. Perhaps we can pick it up again in the future and dig more into some more of the diversity issues. I want to thank you all profoundly for joining us today. And I'd like to encourage everybody out there in Zoom land to fill out the survey that you're going to get along with the link to watch this session on demand as well. But thank you everybody for participating. We hope you'll come back again and we can do it soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just want to put a little plug in there. If you guys get the opportunity, please come visit Jacob Lake Inn at the north rim of the Grand Canyon. They were extremely accommodating for me to do the meeting here. So I just wanted to give them a shout out.
Give them a plug.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
See you soon.
Bye.